Today I'm going to be talking about the 2010 Cold Prey 3, the third part of the Cold Prey trilogy, and like all trilogies, kind of gets a bit lost by the time it gets to the third part. It's where the trilogy for me definitely takes a dip. You know, you've Cold Prey 1, which worked really well because of the abandoned hotel, the really unique location, the interesting characters, the simplicity of the threat worked really well. Cold Prey 2 worked because it did the Halloween 2 move and continued that story from the next day, taking your characters to a hospital, turning that into a nightmare, adding more victims, more blood, more carnage, and it was a straight continuation, and it was great.
Du jo faen meg komplett idiot. Jævla misfoster. Nå får du faen meg fikse opp I det her.
Part 3 is a prequel. It goes back to the beginning, and because you're explaining more about the slasher villain, you're taking away more of the mythos. You're taking away what makes them scary, that faceless, personalityless, killing machine, and here we try to give it a reason as to why it's like that. Doesn't matter in these slasher movies, but that's what we get here. I don't like the fact that we have a prequel because I feel ultimately you know roughly where it's going to go. I mean, I think of a prequel movie where a slasher villain is what we're following. There's pretty much going to be no survivors or someone that's severely damaged and unable to communicate this, because if they were able to communicate and tell people there was a killer there, they would go and investigate and blah blah blah. So it also gives us the origin of the Mountain Man story, where I feel like we had enough snippets of that story to piece together things, still leaving it with enough question marks that it didn't make it so easy for us to understand.
Jeg skulle aldri ha tatt deg med hit. Jeg skulle latt deg fryse I hjel der oppe I sneen. Jeg skulle faen meg ikke tatt deg ned hit.
This one, it strips all that away, and it gives it a different texture straight away. Now, I do like the fact that they changed the look. You know, we lose the snow in the hotel, and I loved that unique location in the first one. I liked the hotel in the second one. It gave it a more different feel. This one, it takes it back to the city backwoods of a forest, and it just feels very familiar. Whereas the first two felt very different from typical slashers, this feels like it's moving into that woodland slasher, and it feels a little bit less special, and it feels a little bit less interesting. We have characters that aren't fully as fleshed out, and it becomes a little bit diluted. The other issue with the prequel is you know where the Mountain Man's going to end up. You know roughly where the killer, how he got to where he was going to be. There is a built-in lack of surprise. It doesn't ruin the film. It can still work if it adds an emotional weight or it makes it thematically interesting. But I think giving us more information weakens the mystery of that character. He was this huge, silent, hulking behemoth. We know something terrible happened to him, but there was also a history of that he was probably wrong in the first place anyway. And Cold Prey tries to deepen that mythology, but instead of strengthening that story, it weakens it.
Hva var det egentlig som skjedde der oppe?
Guttungen gikk ut for å leke, men så kom han aldri tilbake igjen.
The new characters are fine, but they don't have that same impact as the characters we got in the first one, or that shorthand into the second one where we had a bridging character to bring everybody together. We had Yannicke in the first two films, and it was a character we could follow. Now we've got a fresh new cast. We have to build everything up again. But this is where, when we have a third movie, we know what we're getting into. We know what we're expecting, and having that time where we're building the characters is not giving us what we initially want. You move into the second Cold Prey and you're getting the action straight away.
Kom igjen!
Hva det som skjer?
It doesn't mean that Cold Prey Prey 3 is a bad movie. It's just not up to the standard of the first two. The Norwegian wooding setting is different, and I like the fact that these three movies have three very different visual styles. There are some decent kills. There are moments of tension throughout it. As part of the trilogy, it's interesting to see the filmmakers actually try to do something different rather than rehashing what they've done before. It does try to shift the series, but ultimately it shifts it into something that's more ordinary and that we've seen before. And the problem with this prequel is it doesn't improve the earlier films. It doesn't add or give everything to them. When you watch the Cold Prey 1 and 2, you're getting something that's really impactful and together. Part 3, it feels like an add-on. It doesn't offer anything at all to those original stories, and that kind of lets it down a little bit. It's got some good kills, it's got an interesting look about it, it has some moments of tension and feels a little bit different, but it also leads into being a little bit more ordinary. Of course, we've got one or two extras on the disc here, so let's dive in and have a look at them. Here we are in the disc for Cold Prey 3. Let's go to the extras. We have got an audio commentary with Krister Anderson and Philip Escott, and behind the scenes, which runs for 7 minutes 39 seconds, a little talking head promotional piece. Also included in this set is a 120-page book with new essays as well as some art cards. That's the extras for Cold Prey 3. So there we have it, rounding out the Cold Prey trilogy with part 3, which is my least favourite of the trilogy. Now, it's not terrible, it's competently made, it has some atmosphere, and if you're just looking for a throwaway slasher, it's definitely ticking the boxes. It's one of those prequels that answers questions that I didn't really want answered and ultimately just feels extra. So yeah, it's far from the disaster that it could have been. It's fine. Nothing more than fine. Not a patch in the original 2. But I would love to know your thoughts on the original or the trilogy as a whole. Where do you feel this lands within it? Are you similar in my thoughts, or do you think it's better? Let me know in the comment box below. As always, there is more content up here. You can see more of my stuff. In the description box below are links to Patreon, membership program, and manvfilm.com. Always in which you can support me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.